Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Today I have a new Goosebumps SlappyWorld book review for you. Of course, this is book number 8, The Dummy Meets the Mummy by R.L. Stine. This is a book that I looked forward to reading for a long time. It is the last, at the current moment, book of the Mummy series from Goosebumps. I've read and reviewed every single Mummy book from every single era, from the 90s all the way up to 2020, of Goosebumps Mummy stuff. This is the currently last one. And I love mummies. I love the Universal Monsters films. The Mummy films in particular, I think, are great. The Frankenstein films are better, but still, you know, the Mummy films are good. And R.L. Stine takes a lot of influence from those things. And to my knowledge, this is the first time ever that we've had two Goosebumps villains, aside from the films, go up against each other in a book from R.L. Stine. Potentially. We don't know for sure, but supposedly he wrote it. And it was great. It was genuinely great, and I loved it. I had such a blast reading this. It's not perfect. It's not perfect by any means. Don't expect some perfect over the moon type of rating and score at the end of the video. But it was great, and it was an amazing opening. One of my favorite Goosebumps openings of all time. One of the most shocking I've read since Wanted the Haunted Mask and Halloween, or Zombie Halloween, excuse me. One of the most shocking openings to a Goosebumps book I've read in a while, and it was great. I forgot about people warning me about the beginning of this book. This book has gore at the beginning, and it has all kinds of horrific stuff. I mean, and it's fun. It's a really good, well done, well put together book. But I want to start with the first thing you ever see when you get this book, the cover. The cover is done, and many of these covers are done, if not all of them, for SlappyWorld, are done by Brandon Dorman, excuse me. Brandon Dorman, between this particular cover and the Goosebumps, is it Slappy's Ghost? Ghost of Slappy, whatever the cover title thing is. That book in the SlappyWorld series has been fantastic. These covers have been so great from him, from Dorman. And I love this one. This might be my favorite cover. This and Ghost of Slappy might be my favorite covers of all from SlappyWorld in general. I mean, they're fantastic. Some of my favorites I've ever seen in Goosebumps ever, personally. This book was divided into 3 parts. It's 142 pages long, and the 3 parts are all very distinct, and they kind of all come together in a certain way, very much like Goosebumps Wanted the Haunted Mask. And I love that book more than this, but this was really good. Really, it was. I think it had so much potential and so much it was going for, and I was worried about it, because a lot of these Mummy books have not had much Mummy in them, or they've been kind of no Mummy at all, just a joke, like a scam, basically. They've had their problems with a lot of Goosebumps Mummy books, and I was worried about that, but it has also had Slappy, so I was like, okay, well, we're gonna have to get a good balance of everything, and we did. We really did. So the beginning of the book, I'm not going to spoil anything from the book, because this is a spoiler-free channel. I don't ruin things for you guys. The first part to this book is focused on a man who is an explorer, and he goes looking for a tomb. And I believe the mummy's name in this book is Aragotus, or Aragotus. I think it's Aragotus. My personal favorite mummy that I've seen so far from any of the books. Even Chorus, I don't think comes close to how good Aragotus is. Because of the prologue of this book. Not the prologue, but the part 1. So basically this explorer goes looking for the mummy's tomb, and he finds it, and they read off the curse and the mummy comes to life, and it attacks the main explorer. And what it does to him may very well be one of the most shocking things I have ever read in Goosebumps. Ever. Now, a lot of people argue all the time, even now with the newer books, that Goosebumps is always too focused for being kids and too corny and silly and goofy. It has its times where it's like that, and good times even, when it's supposed to be like that. This book starts on a very dark and serious and bloody note. I mean a bloody note. Very much like Goosebumps Wanted the Haunted Mask. In the sense that you're not going to forget the beginning of this book. You won't forget most of this book, I think, but you especially aren't going to forget the beginning of the book. But the beginning of the book being as good as it was makes me feel bad because of the ending we got. Yes, once again, and this is the case with many a SlappyWorld, excuse me, books. Many of these endings are not good for the SlappyWorld series, if not almost all of them. I think maybe 2 of these books have had good, completely satisfying, fine endings. Maybe. This is not one of those. It's mostly fine, mostly, and the last couple of chapters I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like what you just did in the last couple of chapters. It's not that it ends abruptly, it just ends in a really stupid way. You know, in the most cartoonish type ways possible. But the rest of the book is so dark and scary and intense and creepy, especially the beginning of the book, the part 1 that's like 20 pages long. It's fantastic. Okay, so let's go to part 2. Part 2 is about a young boy who had a kind of puppeteer visit his school. And this particular kid meets this puppeteer outside of the school and tells him how much he liked the show. This puppeteer gives him a ventriloquist dummy who happens to be Slappy. And Slappy ends up going crazy and doing all kinds of stuff to torture this kid and his family without hiding. He's not doing the usual Slappy thing about pretending he's not really alive and blaming the kids and stuff, making the parents turn against the kids and all that stuff. He just straight up starts talking trash to the family, and it's funny and it's cute and enjoyable, and then he does what he usually does to people. Well, they try to get rid of him. The dad takes him away, and eventually in part 3 of this book, which I know I'm sounding like I'm talking about a lot of spoilers, I promise you I'm not. Part 3 is about a family who own a museum, or who are part of a museum. I'm pretty sure they own the museum themselves. I think I missed something in there. But anyway, the dad of the family runs a museum, and he happens to get a mummy, or a goddess in this situation, from the buyer that was the explorer that, you know, wanted to get rid of the thing. But he also comes across, on like the back door porch of the museum, a ventriloquist dummy who happens to be Slappy. And Slappy may or may not be alive. We don't know yet. The mummy may or may not be alive right now. We don't really know. I don't want to tell you too much. But I think it's very much one of those cases like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, which is the title is kind of based on, honestly. But also like Freddy vs. Jason, that it's the perfect matchup. It's the perfect execution of how to do this for the most part, until you get to the ending. I loved this book. I had a blast reading it. There were so many times this week I wanted to get around to finishing the book. I had too much to do. I'm by myself at the house right now, so I have a lot of cleaning and stuff to do right now. But when I had the time to read this, I was loving it. I mean, I think it is a fantastic read. So much fun, and that was the big thing about it. It had the scarier moments, it had the gorier moments in the beginning. But again, you get this finale that is one of the most, probably one of the worst Goosebumps endings, honestly. And it's not like The Mummy Walks, which is the Series 2000 book, which was the last Mummy book to come out before this. It's a shame, personally, to see the books like this be so amazing. So amazing. Like 95, if not 98% of the book. I would say 99% of the book. And then the last 2 chapters are just garbage. I mean, just complete, utter execution. I don't even know what to call it. Executional, executed, whatever. Completely terrible endings. I mean, just ruined the book, almost. And not in like a cheap way, just, it was a stupid conclusion, period. And yet I enjoyed all of the book, pretty much. I had a blast reading this. I think it had so much insane, over-the-top, wild content. If you ever wanted to see 2 Goosebumps villains go against each other, and in this case, 2 of the monsters happen to be 2 of the most popular monsters, a mummy, not the mummy, like Chorus, but a mummy, and Slappy, the mascot of Goosebumps, pretty much, nowadays at least. He's not Curly, but, you know, modern-day mascot of Goosebumps. To see these 2 go head-to-head, and the way that they interact, is amazing. Some of Slappy's best material is in this book, I would say. It was wild. I mean, it was a fun, wild, insane, over-the-top time that you will never forget. And I thought it was cool, too, how in the 3rd part of this book, you actually had the father, who owns the museum, being directly involved in everything that was going on. It wasn't just amongst the kids at all. It was like the dad was involved in most of this museum insanity with Slappy and the mummy. It didn't have like this rip-off feeling of, you know, not at the museum or anything like that. It felt like it was its own thing that was extremely enjoyable. I love the crap out of this book, man. It was so much fun. That's the word I keep using, is fun. It was everything I wanted it to be until the ending. And that's the shame of it. And yet it's one of my favorite, if not my next to first favorite. Not my first favorite, but my next to first favorite from the SlappyWorld line of books. It's excellent. I mean, it's just really great, almost. I would say it's at least in my top 3 of the SlappyWorld series. I don't know when it comes to Slappy books, like Slappy villain books, like where he's in them, but it's probably up there. I really love this. Anyway, guys, when it comes to Goosebumps SlappyWorld book number 8, The Dummy Meets the Mummy. I don't want to tell you too much. I feel like I already have in some ways. I try to save the best parts for you to read the book and pick it up for yourself and read it and enjoy it. I think most people will. If you love either The Mummy or The Dummy or both or Goosebumps or R.L. Stine, whatever you love, I think you'll love this. If you love things like references to Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, just with the title alone, I think you will love this film. It has so much going for it. If you're a fan of ventriloquism, that's in here. If you're a fan of freaking the ancient Egypt type stuff with museums and whatnot, if you love that kind of stuff, it's in here heavily. There's so many great moments for the Mummy and the Dummy here that I just loved. I thought it was great. It was really genuinely great. It was so close to being perfect. So close to being perfect. It was 150 pages possibly. It could have done it. It could have really pulled it off. But the ending sucked. The ending sucked so bad. I can't wait to see in the comment section how many people say that, because it was such a freaking... just pissed me off, honestly. But anyway... The Dummy Meets the Mummy. Fantastic read. I loved it so much in so many ways. I can't wait to get a secondary copy of this to have in my collection to read when I really want to around summertime or whatever. It was great. It was such a fun read. Anyway, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give it a really high 4 out of 5 stars. It's so close to being perfect, and it's just not. It has the most insulting, bad ending I've ever seen in my life for such a great Goosebumps book. The Mummy Walks from Series 2000, like I just mentioned, was the same situation. It was a great book. Really good. Really interesting way they took that Mummy book and did what they did with it. And then the ending is rushed and stupid. And this ending is not rushed. It's just a bad ending. It just really is crap, period. But anyway... what are your thoughts on SlappyWorld? What are your thoughts on this particular book? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear everything you have to say about it. I really enjoyed this tremendously, and I hate that a lot of people aren't enjoying this as much as I did. I thought it was a great mashup. Again, to my knowledge, it's the first time we've ever seen two of the monsters go up head-to-head aside from films and novelizations of those films and whatnot. To my knowledge, this is the first time we ever saw two monsters fight in a regular Goosebumps book, and I loved it. Whether it be, I mean, not two monsters, but two big villains, like two iconic villains from their own series fighting and crossing over and whatnot. This was great. It really was. It was so close to being perfect. I'm really bummed out that it's not perfect, that I can't sit here and lie to you and say that it was perfect, because it's not. But even so, I'm going to stop rambling, and now I'd love to hear what you have to say down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm trying to think, is there anything else I wanted to say about this? Oh, at some point I'm going to have, in the next couple of days, probably either tomorrow or the next day after that, I'll have my review ranking video, not with any spoilers or anything like that inside of it, but my ranking video of all the Mummy books from Goosebumps, at the current moment at least, as of 2020. And I will do a ranking video of all those books and what I think is best and worst, you know, the whole series. I think there's like 6 of these books, or 5, or something like that, so... we'll talk about that soon, in the next couple of days, God willing. But hopefully you'll stick around and you'll subscribe, and if you haven't subscribed before, maybe you will, I don't know. You could see some Mummy opinions. Anyway, hopefully you'll stick around for that. Hopefully it'll be enjoyable to you. I don't know how long it'll be until I pick up another Goosebumps book. I want to take kind of a little bit of break for a couple of weeks, just because I'm just kind of out of it. I don't think I will, but I kind of want to, but I don't think I will. So don't hold me to that, one way or another. Anyway... what are your thoughts on Dummy Meets the Mummy, or the Mummy books in general? What was your favorite so far? I'd love to hear all that down below, too. Anyway, thank you for watching. Again, 4 out of 5 stars for me. It was just such a wild read. Seriously. Seriously wild. I never expected anything that happened in this book. Went into it knowing nothing, and I'm so thankful I did. Anyway, may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.